Hey guys, on this episode of my vlog called Life After Trauma, we're going to be talking about a symptom and effect of trauma referred to as denial, rationalization, or idealization. And this one was really hard to swallow. I've said that a couple times about a couple things because the effects of trauma are really difficult to process and navigate through. But this one was a little deeper and more personal just because I think a lot of times trauma survivors and people that experience these deeply impactful and hurtful things, they look at the situation and either say, that person wasn't being mean, I just took it wrong. That person wasn't being abusive, they just treated me in a special way. That event wasn't traumatizing, it was just heroic, it was just dramatic, it was just crazy, chaotic. People don't claim the true name of something that happened to them, and they fall into this self-blame, self-guilt, self-hatred, self-doubt, and they put things on themselves that don't deserve to be blamed on them. And that was really hard to hear because I think it's such a widespread impact of trauma. Essentially what's going on is delegitimizing the events that occurred, saying, oh no, it was okay, it wasn't a big deal, I wasn't hurt, I just took it wrong, I was just being emotional, dramatic, overplaying the situation, something like that. That really hurt me just because it seemed so inaccurate to reality. But then again, I think this symptom of it is them claiming that as the reality because the harm done is too difficult to accept. Accepting that somebody close to you misused your trust and abused you is a very hard reality that I understand people would move past and not process all the way through because they're afraid, because it would mean that they have to question their relationship with that person and that person's love for them and that person's relationship with them. And yeah, the self-blame thing is the thing that I found most difficult because they are blaming themselves for something that they did not do, but that someone did to them. That's crazy. That's so hard. And I have definitely been somebody to do that as well in the context of my family. I had a pretty emotionally abusive household, and my dad in particular. And I often was like, oh, well, my dad just has autism, so it's okay that he acted that way. I should have been able to handle it. But I was being elevated to a place where I really shouldn't have been dealing with the things I was dealing with, and I shouldn't have had that responsibility on me, but I did. And it took a lot of effort. It actually took watching the movie Good Will Hunting and seeing his experience with counseling, where his counselor just says over and over again to the main character in this show, played by Matt Damon, his counselor, played by Robin Williams, goes to him and he just keeps saying, in the face of Matt Damon confronting this abuse that he faced from a foster home, it was not your fault. It was not your fault. It was not your fault. Over and over and over again. And I just was weeping, and Matt Damon was just weeping in the movie. And it was something that really stuck with me. And going back into this denial and rationalization aspect of trauma and trauma's impact, I totally see how people would be like, it's easier to say it's my fault and put it on me than to put it on the person who's actually responsible, because that way I can fix it. But if you put that responsibility on the person it was due, which is the perpetrator or the event or the circumstance, whatever it may be, it takes away this aspect of control. You couldn't have controlled it. You couldn't have helped it. You couldn't have fixed it. And only they could have, and they misused their relationship with you. That environment wasn't safe for you, and proper measures weren't put into place to make sure that you were safe there. Whatever the case may be, self-blame makes sense in one aspect, but it's also really difficult and crazy in another when I look at other people's situations. Like, how do you think you getting abused is your fault? But it's more complicated than that. And denial is a really tricky issue. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys about some more tricky issues next episode.